Are past lives real? The answer is yes and no. But there is almost a universal sense among many cultures and peoples that something has happened before this lifetime, right? It's an intuitive sense, even sometimes a very strong sense of knowing. And there's actually been a fair amount of, let's just say, research or anecdotal discussion around having a past life. So just for fun, you may have had a past life if you have unreasonable phobias or fears. Like, why am I so afraid of spiders? Why am I afraid of being drowned, right? So the explanation is that maybe this is something that was very traumatic that happened to you in a previous existence. It is still affecting your actions in this existence, right? The other one is you may have had a past life if you have recurring dreams. Now, most of us have some type of recurring dream. But a lot of times, if you notice these dreams that are recurring, there are certain themes that keep coming up, trying to solve a particular problem, or being in a particular place, or meeting a particular type of person over and over again. Now, this could simply be the subconscious trying to work things out, or it could be in that state of sleep or dream state. You do have access to things that are still lingering, that present themselves while you're dreaming, right? So another common way to think about that. You may have had past life if you experienced déjà vu. Like you've already seen this before, you've already heard this before. Now, scientists kind of explain déjà vu, not so much as a past life. They say what it is that you have the experience, and while you're processing, you think you've already had it to help you with the processing, so you feel like you've heard it or seen it before. Just one scientific explanation for it. On the other hand, it may very well be that there's something you recognize in this lifetime that you've recognized before. You may have already had a past life if you have an attraction to a place, a location, a particular time in history, or even a particular culture. Like, why am I so fascinated by the indigenous American culture? Why do I always want to feel like I need to go back to Greece, right? That type of thing. Why do I wish I was born in the 18th century, right? Now, some of these can be fantasies, stories we've heard, but some people say maybe you've had experiences in these places and times and cultures, and there's a familiarity to it, or you feel like you've been there before, right? If you have been, when you were a young child or children under the age of 3, if they start talking about things that they have no reasonable way of knowing about, like places they've seen or been, people they've known, this information must be coming from somewhere because they haven't had enough life to remember this, right? They haven't had these memories being formed yet. So, and it's usually before the age of 3, right? After that, they get very creative and imaginative, and they may make up past lives, right? There's also something precognition. Like, I've already seen the future because I've kind of been here and done this before, right? So precognition, it can also just be intuition, though, right? There's also something called retrocognition, right? So if you have experienced retrocognition, they say you may have had that past life. Now, retrocognition is really the ability to obtain some information or knowledge from the past that's not usually available. So, for example, you may see a symbol or something written down, and you already know what that's about, and there's really no way you could have known that, right? So, retrocognition, looking back. Another one, this is kind of funny in a way. You may have had a past life if you feel older than your age. I think a lot of us feel older than our age sometimes, right? But it is kind of like that old saying, oh, you must be an old soul. You have this sense of maturity about you, of years already passed. Like you see it sometimes in children or young adults. They seem like they've had this maturity already, and it's coming back around in this time. Another really popular one is that you may have already had a past life if you recognize you have soulmates, companions you've traveled with before and on this path, this journey, especially soul groups. In other words, sometimes spiritual communities, people that you tend to have a lot of identification with, that seems like there's something you've been having before. These things are people usually talk about when they say, I think I've had a past life. The problem sometimes with past lives is that there's a lot of projections and fantasies and using things from our present experiences to recreate a past life. In reality, past lives are much more subtle than just being a personality at some other time in the past, right? Many people really personalize it, like, oh, I must have been a chef in my past life because I'm such a good cook now, right? Or I know this person I've been with for 5 years is because we have been together before. So we tend to really overly personalize these experiences a lot of times and try to give them names and energies and things like that, because that's the way we're made as humans. We don't have any other way of doing this other than our current wealth of materials to do this recreation, right? In reality, I think past lives are a lot more impersonal than we think they are. It's more of an energy, an obligation that the soul does carry from lifetime to lifetime. So this is going to introduce this whole discussion around the journey of the soul.